Hello, Freeport. Happy Sunday and Happy New Year again. I just wanted to reach out to you here this afternoon to give you guys the first podcast of the year. I had a live broadcast on Friday, but I want to share with you guys 3 very serious receipts that demonstrate the difficulties of what I've had to go through to get information from City Hall. And I want to also share with you just how hard these guys are working to keep their corruption covered up and making sure that no information gets out and that there's no investigations and that there's no accountability and that there's no transparency. So let's get into it. Number 1, I'm going to show you the letter that I had to send to TML, and I got a response, and they recited the Attorney General's opinion on how and when and how quickly the City Hall staff had to give City Council members any information and any documentation that they had in their possession. And I'm gonna get into those details. Number 2, I'm gonna give you an update to those RFPs that I've been asking for, as they are related to the Coverups investigation and the Coverups, as well as all of the other needs that City Hall has been delaying on. And number 3, I'm going to show you the email that I sent requesting a special meeting last month, an emergency meeting, to discuss the conduct and behavior of Lance Petty, the city manager, and his blatant lying to the city council. And I want you to see the agenda items that I requested, because those are the items that I'm going to be pursuing here, because where there is smoke, my friends, there is fire. So let us get started. On number 1, I want to show you a copy of an email that I actually had to send way back in 2022 to the TML, the Texas Municipal League, and they recited the Attorney General's opinion on how the documents released to the council need to be done and the timetables that they need to be done in. And I want to show you this email because this is what I'm talking about, my friends. This is what I'm talking about, Freeport. I've been fighting City Hall. The previous City Hall administration, Kelty, Bass, and Easy Money, I was fighting City Hall back in 2022, trying to get information out to the public. And I'm talking about contracts, I'm talking about money owed by Brimage, you know, that investigation, that's a whole nother can of worms. And of course, the water billing issues and all of the other information that I've been asking here in the last year as well. And so this email demonstrates 2 things. Number 1, just the fight that I've had to have, just the challenge that I've had to undertake to try to get any information out to the public, number 1. But also the complete incompetence or willful ignorance by Olson and Olson not to do what is the law. Their interpretation, either they don't know what the hell they're doing or they were purposely blocking it from getting out. But when I finally, I'm over here thinking these guys should know this stuff, right? They're the attorneys. But no, I ended up having to go to the state and had this information provided to me as what the Attorney General is requiring of municipalities. So you would think that Olson and Olson would have known this. And so I was waiting on them and depending on them to just do the right thing or learn what the damn law was. So it wasn't until I actually referenced that email that I sent back in 2022 to the then City Hall staff of Kelty and Easy Money and Bass that I was able to get that information. But I guarantee you, they were trying to make sure that I did not get any of that information. And it's all public information. They were sitting on it. So here we go, round 2. Why does this stuff keep happening? Because it's the same people. Because it's the same people appointing their friends. And so this deep state of corruption persists. And so I asked for this information and I provide this email on Friday, December 27th, and then follow up with the Attorney General's opinion on Saturday. And I finally, after months, 6 months, actually a year with some other information that I'm still waiting for from Lance Petty and City Hall staff. It wasn't until I provided and threatened both Lance Petty and Olson and even Jerry Cain from stopping their continued obstruction of the release of public information that I finally got it 2 days later, Monday morning, December 30th. So after 6 months, actually 12 months of requesting this information, hoping that these guys would do their jobs, knowing what their jobs were, knowing what the law was. No, they knew what the law was. No, these guys don't want to be paying attention to counsel at all. These guys want to be dictating the terms of what the city of Freeport does with no sense of responsibility, no sense of transparency, and certainly no accountability. But I'm telling you, it's not until I have to escalate these matters to the highest levels of the state. These guys don't listen to anything. These guys, you can't ask them nicely. You can't even remind them a week later or a month later or 2 months later. 6 months later, these guys are delaying. They knew exactly what they were doing. They were obstructing. They were delaying. And they were breaking all the rules and the laws. So you had Lance Petty breaking the rules, avoiding and delaying providing information to counsel that was being requested. And then he had political cover by Jerry Cain, who is his next door buddy, doesn't want to be holding him accountable. And then you had Olson and Olson, who was trying to save their own ass, keeping their job as city attorney, just looking the other way, not enforcing, not reminding them what the damn law was. It took little old councilman from Ward A to remind them what the law was, because I escalated it to the highest offices here in the state of Texas. And I'm talking about the offices that dictate how municipalities, cities are run legally, how they're supposed to be run, how city councils are supposed to be run, and how city councils are supposed to operate. And so here we are. Why in the hell is Lance Petty still here after all of these corrupt cover-ups and delays? And with Jerry Cain giving all the political cover, and with Olson and Olson just saying whatever they have to say to keep their damn jobs and building the city of Freeport, legal fees after legal fees after legal fees. These emails clearly demonstrate how these guys have been abusing their authority, their positions, and so I bring it forward, and I'm trying to educate the other councilmen so that they know what the rules are. Because what's going to happen here, my friends, is that after we get bankrupted by these guys, and I'm going to get into those details too, there's going to be a lot of questions, and there's going to be Texas Rangers, and there's going to be FBI, and there's going to be a whole bunch of damn questions as to how in the hell and why in the hell we got here. And I'm going to tell you, here are all the receipts. So I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to get ahead of this to some degree. And that's why they keep trying to silence me, because here I am trying to make sure this stuff gets out to you. But no, they want to make sure I don't get any of the information. They want to make sure I get none of the information because they know I'm going to share it with you. And here's the deal. I'm only going to share with you guys what I can legally share with you. But what's legally open to the public information, public property, they don't even want that, because it demonstrates their crookedness, their corruption, their incompetence, and they've been doing it over and over again. And I can tell you this, there is a highly likely case of criminality in a lot of these events that will probably have these folks answering in the court of law some very difficult questions. And I really do hope that we get there, because information that's been given to me by residents and staff, which keeps coming, clearly illustrates to me that the senior staff at City Hall had a lot more to do and has a lot more to answer for. Had a lot more to do with a lot of these illegal wires and contracts, and the liability that they've created is not only illegal, I don't know how they have a job or how they're ever going to get another job. Because here's the deal. I've been requesting this Coverups information since June. And I just want to share with you, back in June, I was informed by Lance Petty that he went to the Texas Rangers, provided all the Coverups information, and that they said that they didn't find anything there, anything criminal. Well, I wanted to make sure that Lance Petty, in fact, gave the Texas Rangers the complete and entire full story from start to finish of Coverups' engagement with the city of Freeport, and not some abbreviated or some cherry-picked report that only colored the situation one certain way. Well, I asked for a copy of all the documentation that he provided the Texas Rangers, and I asked for any kind of report that the Texas Rangers might have actually provided in terms of their findings, any formal letter. Well, I can tell you this, it's been a long 6-7 months for that, and here we are. I finally get it this last week, and it wasn't until I got onto social media in December, finally, because there's been so many other issues, then calling for the termination of Lance Petty, that I got their attention. But it wasn't until I got this letter, a copy of the letter that's from the TML, Texas Municipal League, and their attorneys reciting the Attorney General's opinion on how and when they're supposed to deliver the materials to City Council. So let me be clear about this. I want to make sure that this particular point is clearly understood. After asking nicely and nicely and nicely, month after month, and then having to go onto social media to also make sure that the public knows what's going on, it's not until I actually have to sick the state on them, the Attorney General on them, that they finally realize, oh shoot, and you know they didn't say that. I asked for these documents way back in June. Why the delay? Why did they stall for 6 months? Why the continued efforts to cover up Coverups' illegal wire by City Hall staff? It's pretty stinky. It's pretty suspicious. What are they so afraid of that will get exposed? I know the answer, and I will be telling the Texas Rangers as well. I'll be sure to be filling in the blanks that were not told, and not just the limited set of documents that they were given by Lance Petty. I want to make sure that they have the full story from start to finish, and all the players and everything in between, and not just the morsels of information in the limited set of documents that Lance Petty provided them. Think about it. Think about it. You're a City Hall staffer, and if you might have had a hand in the illegal wire, wouldn't it be clever to hold yourself out as one of the persons that went straight to the Rangers? As the one that went straight to the Rangers and provided them all the info. But really, it's only a limited set of the documentation that frames the story as a big nothing burger. Nothing to see here. And then, afterwards, come over to City Council and say, hey, I gave it to the Rangers, and they said there's nothing here. Well, not so fast. I think the saying is trust but verify. But the level of trust with the senior staff at City Hall, in particular the city manager, has eroded to such a low point that at this point it's strictly about verification. And quite frankly, that's just a formality at this point. I wanted to be sure that the Rangers were provided the details of the Coverups illegal wire that was provided to me early on in the contract bidding process, which I actually brought to light to the City Council in executive session back in May. And that was when then Mayor Brooks Bass, who was also part of the cover-up, attempted to assault another councilman, me. So yeah, sound familiar? Yeah. The package was given to the Rangers. Let me just tell you, it's light on details. I've looked over the documents that were provided over this last week, and they are light on details. And those details will be exposed. And every City Hall employee and City Council member that was aiding and abetting in this cover-up will be investigated. Will certainly be interviewed. All I will say is, where there is smoke, there is fire. And there is plenty of smoke still at City Hall, and much more related to contract bidding manipulation at City Hall, and the Coverups illegal wire was just the beginning. And that is how the former city manager, Tim Kelty, got fired, and later on, Easy Money, the CFO, Kathy Easel. And I'm telling you, there's still more house cleaning to be done. This is why I asked for these RSPs. And so let me go into number two. Number two, well, after weeks of requesting all these RFPs and calling for the termination of City Manager Lance Petty for his overt ignoring and insubordination of City Council, the RFPs for the investigation finally got posted online this weekend. So take a look here. You can see the 3 of the RFPs that I asked for. The RFP for Coverups, the RFP for the Coverups investigation, the RFP for replacement, the RFP for the Pixie House in replacing IAD architects to give the city a general contracting estimate. And I do hope that they don't waste the money and pay somebody to do it. But the RFP just asks for somebody to come on out and give us bids. And yes, and the third one, of course, and the third one, the real gem of it all, is the RFP for Olson and Olson. Yes, after months of delays and over a year since the illegal Coverups wires, the RFP for a new law firm and a forensic audit was finally put online. But that's not the end. We have to make sure we select the 2 firms ASAP and not let another month or 2 or 12 go by as a big stalling tactic. I'm looking at you, Lance Petty. And furthermore, when Olson & Olson is withholding critical and timely information from City Council, you have to ask the question, why are they here? I will tell you this, they need to be fired for not only failing to give timely information to all of Council, repeatedly, and I'm going to give you one example after another here going forward, but for now, also their involvement in knowingly withholding information from Council that allowed Coverups more time to get away with the $345,000 is completely disqualifying. I mean, Olson and Olson shouldn't only be fired. Maybe they should be sued for malpractice for helping to lose that money. But because Jerry Cain was involved in the cover-up, do you think he's going to fire the law firm that covered up alongside him? No. But it doesn't matter to them that they're both guilty of covering up the losses and thus exacerbating the problem by giving aid to the getaway of Coverups, by delaying the information to Council, and by delaying the investigation and any legal pursuits. They don't want the investigation. They never did, because they knew they were guilty. So they both need to go. And the only silver lining, Freeport, is that we can have a fresh start once they are gone. So let me tell you a little side story. I was over at Angleton here last month, and I was at the county offices, and I started chatting with one of the county employees who's actually from Freeport originally, and asked me, why is there always some kind of corruption going on in Freeport? And so I answered her. I said, that's because it's the same network of individuals who have been entrenched in the politics and City Hall. They have their buddies, they cherry pick who they hire, and they're all doing their bidding, and they're all on a grift, and they all have been. And I said, well, at least here in the last year, we've gotten rid of 3 of the officials, but we're still not done cleaning house. We still need the city manager, the city attorney, and the current mayor, who are very likely still beholden to the establishment here in Freeport. And that is why they keep making decisions that make absolutely no economic sense, absolutely no sense of transparency, absolutely no sense of accountability. And her simple response was, well, they all gotta go. I couldn't agree more. I ask everybody yet still, please come to the council meetings and ask for their immediate removal and termination. I'm talking about Lance Petty, I'm talking about Olson and Olson, and I'm talking about Jerry Cain. And with no severance packages, by the way. They want to sue the city because they think they've been illegally terminated? Well, let them try. Because the evidence against them for their incompetence and their waste and corruption is stronger than their collective lies. And number 3, I want to share with you the email that I sent a couple of weeks ago asking for a special meeting, and I want you to see the items on the agenda that I requested. Because City Hall has done everything they possibly can to prevent any of these items to be discussed. When I told you that there haven't been any executive sessions, that's because these guys are covering all of this shit up. They don't want to even talk about it. They don't want to talk about it because they know they're going to get exposed. Well, so that's why I'm here on the podcast, because I want to make sure you guys know about it. And I want you guys to look at this agenda. And then I want to look at the agenda that's coming up tomorrow, Monday, and look at the difference. They put in the executive session, consult with an attorney. Well, that's just a general blanket executive session item. Why keep it general? Why not get to the specifics? Why not outline what we're going to talk about? Why are they continuing to hide whatever we're going to try to talk about? That's what I want to know. But I want to make sure you know that what I want to talk about was sent a couple of weeks ago and it's been ignored. So come to the meeting tomorrow, ask for these guys to be removed, and ask for more transparency, but also tune into what's going to happen during executive session. Ask them to put it out during the open session. And just observe who's trying to cover stuff up, who's just trying to make sure that nothing gets said, who's trying to make sure that there's no transparency and no accountability, who's trying to cover up for who. It's disgusting. It's terrible, it's disgusting, and it's only going to continue so long as they are here in office with any kind of authority to continue making bad decisions. Well, that's it, Freeport. I just wanted to make sure that I share these items here with you as we get set for the new year. As always, I need your help to make Freeport the best Freeport ever. Please keep sending me messages. Please keep calling me. Please keep emailing me. Don't hesitate to pull me aside and tell me what you know, because we will clean house, because we will make sure that City Hall is working for you and not working against you, and that there's somebody listening to the real needs to make Freeport the place that we all love. So that said, thank you for your prayers and for the prayers of Freeport that we have an amazing 2025. We'll see you tomorrow night. Stay tuned. God bless.